Here now with us is the infamous State Representative Josh Miller. He's from District 66. Josh, how are you this morning?
Well, Paul, I'm doing good. I appreciate that introduction there. That's actually nicer than I get other places. So
yeah, well,
I'll take it.
I trust me, I know. So you are the chair of is it a subcommittee or the committee on Arkansas Game and Fish?
It's a subcommittee, part of Legislative Council, the Oversight Committee of Game and Fish and State Police.
Okay. So, the Arkansas Game and Fish, they're very powerful agency in and of themselves. I wanted to have you on. Well, first of all, your father killed one of the the biggest buck I think I've ever seen. Did you guys actually count the points on that thing? I've never seen anything like it.
I haven't gotten them all counted yet, but it's over 20.
That is
We didn't count, but it was an incredible deer, just a buck of 5 lifetimes. I think Dad is being rewarded for 70-something years of good living on this earth, clean living.
Well, let me tell you, those are some incredible photos. You can see them, folks. They're up on Facebook. Okay, so Josh, I guess they've expanded some of these quarantine areas for chronic wasting disease. Deer season is upon us, or about to be,
Right.
and so what are your thoughts on chronic wasting disease? On the efforts the Game and Fish here. They we now have Baxter County, Stone County included. It appears to be spreading. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think this is my personal opinion. I'm not a biologist or whatever, but I have done quite a bit of research on this because I am an avid hunter and have land, and actually, we have a place in Stone County that's in the CWD zone, so I'm keenly interested. I think that we're going to discover, as it's you're kind of seeing this all over the country already. The more you look for something, the more you're going to find. I believe that we're looking more for CWD now. I think we're obviously going to find it more. I don't know that. First of all, I don't think that our public folks out here need to freak out about CWD. I don't think that they need to not eat deer that they shoot, or quit hunting, or just say, well, we're going to lose all of our deer herd to CWD. I've asked the question, how many deer that we know have CWD that tested positive for chronic wasting disease? How many of those deer have died from chronic wasting disease? And the answer is 0. They've either been shot or hit with a car, or roadkill, or something else. But there's been not one deer that we can say, well, this deer expired from chronic wasting disease. So it's not good. We want to cooperate with Game and Fish. And I think they're trying their best, but I'm not buying the whole, CWD as the apocalyptic ending to our deer herd.
Well, so I'm not a biologist either, but from what I can tell, you've got biologists maybe in the private sector who think differently than the biologists who are working for the government. Is that true? Can you expand on that any?
I think so. I think there's definitely been a rift between government employed biologists, whether that be U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or for various state conservation agencies or whatever. And it's not, and I don't mean to imply that here in Arkansas, just all over the country. This is what has kind of turned up, and you've got a lot of your private sector biologists that are saying, hey, this the prion that causes chronic wasting disease is in the soil. It's been around forever, and we don't know how to get rid of things that are in the soil. And so, this is not anything to be worried about, and we should just go right on and keep hunting just like we always have, and keep, managing our deer herds the same way, and just basically ignore it. And then the biologists that work for the government obviously feel differently. They have a best practices protocol that's being implemented. What's being implemented here in Arkansas is being implemented in every other state where they've found CWD. And I imagine by the end, after this coming deer season, we're going to probably add several more states to the states that have found CWD, and
because now they're testing. Now they're testing for it everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe a few more years ago than that, over in Mississippi, nobody ever thought about CWD. Nobody ever thought about anything, and they weren't testing for it, weren't looking for it. And anyway, nothing's really changed with their deer herd. Now they're looking for it, and they found it in a few spots, and so now, they're changing up regulations and operating under this best practices protocol. And again, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm not here. I don't want anybody to misunderstand me and say that we shouldn't be, cooperating with Game and Fish or whatever. I definitely want to. I've told Game and Fish they're more than welcome to come to my place and test for CWD all they want. And I mean that. We want to be cooperative, cooperate with them, but at the same time, I think there's 2 trains of thought, and it's maybe like anything else. Maybe the actual real truth lies somewhere in the middle.
We're talking with State Representative Josh Miller. I'm on the CWD. I'm on the Game and Fish website. Their CWD page. It says in February 2016, an elk was harvested in Newton County, tested positive for CWD. Now, there was an elk herd that was brought in here by the, after they were out of Arkansas, they brought them back in. I'm curious, because up in Colorado, up in that area, right, the elk up there had a lot of CWD, and I understand they're flourishing now. Is that correct?
That is true. If you go to where CWD was first discovered 25, 30 years ago out in Colorado, it was, discovered in elk and mule deer. And you go out there right now in those same areas, and those herds are flourishing, doing well. I mean, people are spending, crazy amounts of money to go out there and hunt them. And so, again, I don't want folks to, be freaking out and distraught over this and think, well, we're gonna, this is it. That deer hunting as we know it is over. I don't think that's the case. And I always want to remind folks, hey, our game wardens, our game and fish folks that are out there in the field, and I've said this before, Paul, is that there's more people that care about what the Game and Fish Commission does, the rules and regulations that they put out, and that, put our game wardens and our field officers in under more scrutiny than they do about the state budget, taxes we raise, or whatever. Game and Fish is a very influential department in our state. And anyway, when you see these guys and ladies in the field, say hi to them, thank them for what they do, because we do ask them to do a tough job.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of backing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, people are definitely critical. The agency is very powerful. There are great people that work there. They're trying to do the best they can. Like you said, there are 2 schools of thought with this chronic wasting disease. But there are also other problems that can potentially happen and materialize because of their surveillance. Now, the Game and Fish, to be fair to them, they have said, listen, we want more hunters so that so that you can help us try to track where the chronic wasting disease is going. We have to have hunters or because we can't do it all by ourselves. But for example, they've put Baxter County now. This is Mountain Home area, north central Arkansas. They've put Baxter County now in the quarantine zone. But there's some places in Baxter County. The regulation states, okay, so if you kill a deer now in Baxter County, you cannot take that meat with the bone in outside of the county. If the county next to it is not in the quarantine zone, that is now, against regulations. You're going to get a big hefty fine if they were to police it and catch you doing it. But there are places in Baxter County, Josh, where there's no way to get your meat into Mountain Home without first going outside of Baxter County into Fulton County and then back in. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
There are unintended consequences from this, and it does make it more difficult sometimes.
There is, and I believe, I fully believe that if you're in a situation like that, and you were, questioning about it, I think our game wardens, all of our officers are going to be try to be as understanding and lenient. There's always extenuating circumstances and exceptions, to every rule. They're not going to come out there, and if you've got to drive down one road, and you got one road in and out of your place, and you've got to cross the county line to get back into, your home county, or like you were saying, get back into Mountain Home or whatever. I don't believe that the game wardens are going to be sitting right there waiting for you to cross the county line, and as soon as you do, say, aha, I got you.
Now that you've said that, I think that's more likely to be the case.
Well, probably so. They're probably going to be like, well, we want to make Miller look like an idiot, which is not hard to do.
Oh, man.
But,
Well,
anyway.
So and again, I really appreciate your thoughtfulness on this. We're not trying to just throw the Arkansas Game and Fish under the bus here, but with this chronic wasting disease, there is talk about, like you said, it's in the soil, it's in the ground. We might have had this for a long time before somebody finally caught it, and the deer have been doing fine, potentially. I mean, we don't know one way or the other, but it's in the soil. But there are these feeding regulations, and private landowners are starting to worry that they're just going to take away the ability to feed via a corn feed or something like that altogether, because you can't do it except during the season, right?
Right. That if you're in the CWD zone, you can't feed. Now, this doesn't mean you can't have bird feed out. It doesn't mean you can't do whatever. But I don't have the regulations in front of me. There are some exceptions. You can feed your obviously you can feed livestock, whatever. But during they want to take away the baiting, basically. Putting out corn and that kind of stuff from the first of the year, basically January through the end of August. Now, we can feed from September 1 to December 31. Now, and that's one of those things I'm not sure about. That I understand what the rationale is for the rule. The Game and Fish does not want to make it where folks can't feed during deer season, because then they might see a decline in the number of hunters, and that's not what they need. So they're going to keep baiting legal during the season. And again, I'm kind of the opinion, if we know for a fact that deer being around corn feeders or mineral licks or whatever is a problem, and is why this disease is getting transferred, then let's just outlaw feeding altogether. But because we're saying, hey, we're gonna make it where we're not going to transfer the disease for 2/3 of the year, and that other third we're going to wish it wish it luck and hope it doesn't happen. And
Well, yeah,
so,
I see
anyway,
what you're saying. You're essentially making the point that doesn't make much sense.
it does raise the question. And again, I understand Game of Fish is saying, their answer to it is, well, we want to make it. We don't want to run off hunters. We still want to enable them to do what they've always done, and carry on like normal through deer season. Well, I mean, if you're like me, I like to feed year round. I like to have, so we do supplemental feeding and all that stuff at our place, and that's something that we enjoy doing. And it kind of, it sucks to think, well, if I'm feeding past New Year's Day, or past New Year's Eve, I reckon I'm in violation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I still encourage everybody to be cooperative, and hopefully maybe we'll discover that this will just go away, and it's not that big a deal.
No, I think you're right. I think
why can't we do with CWD what we do with all other government problems? Just form a task force, sweep it under the rug, and forget about it.
Oh, man, I like that. That's really good. Well, speaking of that, let me get your thoughts real quick. We did have, the gas tax increase went into effect this week. We don't have a lot of time left, Josh, but can you give us your thoughts on the fact that state government is, they've seen in the net in September, the revenue increased $34.5 million, 6.1% from the same month a year ago. That beats the state's forecast by $31.4 million, or 5.5%. What are your thoughts on this increased revenue into the government?
Well, I mean, I think as far as the reason behind it, it's pretty simple. The economy is doing well, and we raise taxes, and then obviously, so there's more revenue coming in, and then if we're doing that, that's great. I think we need to immediately start looking at ways we can put more money back in taxpayers' pockets, and not continue to nickel and dime our way to a bunch of tax increases as we've done in the past. So that's pretty much my thoughts. I think
I like it. That's a good summary. The economy's doing good, and we raise taxes, so the government has a lot more money than they thought they would.
Exactly.
That's pretty good. Hey, well, State Representative Josh Miller, I appreciate it. It's always great to talk to you, sir. Thanks for spending time with us, and thanks for talking about this game and fish issue the way that you did, and chronic wasting disease. People need to know, there are new counties in the quarantine zone, and so, like you said, cooperate with them. But then let's also be willing to encourage them to maybe go and think along that other line of thought if we can. So I really appreciate what you do, Josh.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Appreciate you, man.
All righty, folks.